Hi, welcome to Fighting Talk. I'm KUDO Mal. I'm on a mission to spread the news of KUDO in the UK, but also the benefits of being a martial artist. This time on Fighting Talk, we have Lynn Gordon. Lynn is a Tai Chi practitioner and looks beyond the physical benefits of Tai Chi, focusing on the personal development and the development of his students. Let's have a chat with Lynn. This is Lynn Gordon, a good friend of mine. We've known each other enough time to establish a good relationship between us.
Yeah, sure.
So how are you, Lynn? Everything okay?
Everything's good, thanks, man. I've been locked up for the last 9 weeks, 9.5 weeks.
It's not great, but these things allow us to connect, right? Your hair looks better than mine. We're going to stay on there. Anyway, so just to give it a little bit of an intro, for me, Tai Chi was something very personal. I've tried to involve it in all my training over the years. I was gifted it by a gentleman called Brendan Simmons and at our camp through a Malaysian instructor. But it's always been just about maintaining my health. As a child, it was really just about the physical elements. It was obviously because my asthma was pretty bad and it was just trying to improve the quality of life. I started a group over Barry Island. It was only really a few people. It's grown beyond recognition. And then one day when I was just going through the motions, Lynn rocks up to the group. I knew that he had done something. He had such positive energy, you know, came across, said very nice words to me, considering I practice Tai Chi for exercise. And Lynn's had a far greater experience than I have within, as in Tai Chi martial arts around the world. And that's why I wanted to bring you on here, Lynn. So I just wanted for the people watching this, could you just give them a brief kind of story? What's your Tai Chi story been to date?
My Tai Chi story is really a story of a kind of a fascination with movement. So in about 1970, roughly, I started yoga. And I started to teach yoga about 1973, 74. I lived in France for a couple of years and had a little school going there. Then I came back to England and abandoned yoga and went into some esoteric studies for about 6 years. In 1981, I decided I want to go back to movement, but not to yoga. And I started studying Yang family long form. There was Master Chu in London was the teacher, in Islington, his group. And I studied with him. Well, I attended classes there. I had a few private lessons. In those days, I think an hour with him cost me 50 quid.
Oh,
yeah, and that was 1981, yeah.
Wow.
And then I started with the Yang family short form in 1986. So about 40 years of Tai Chi altogether.
Wow.
In the process, I was introduced to my teacher's teachers, lived in Malaysia, in Penang. And I stayed with this teacher. I did the Bai Shi with him, you know, the drinking the tea and giving the red packets, and inner door disciple, etc. I did that in 95, I think it was. And in 99, I decided I'd had enough and I left. It's a little story that seems to follow me around. I seem to spend time quite intimately with things, and then it's just a point when I think the politics is too much.
Yeah. Same with most organizations.
And the traditions become used as a kind of a weapon.
Yeah.
You're not following the thing.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a letter to my then Grand Master and explained that what had brought me into the Tai Chi was the same thing that was now taking me certainly out of that school.
No, that's very sad, isn't it?
Well, it's that, there's a seeker in us, I think.
Yeah.
The years of yoga and the esoteric school, they're all about personal development and trying to touch some internal quality.
That's, I think, Lynn, sorry to jump in there, but I think this is quite a kind of relevant point for me because I'm practically and majority a Japanese martial artist. And this was taught to me as a way of improving my movement and flow. But it was, like I said, a gift to me to help me improve my fitness. It wasn't something cool as a kid. You know, I got to face that. It was, you know, nobody really wanted to be doing that because they'd rather be punching and kicking, you know, bells out of each other. But then, you know, when I decided that actually I was willing to pass on what knowledge I did have, actually present it as this is what it is, and this is as far as I'm willing and I can take you, but that I'm a door opener. You know, it's like taking a horse to water. And I would say that sometimes the kind of innocence, you know, and that depth of what I'm doing is key. And it's a saying there's lots of people involved, but they don't know the full beauty of the art, do they? For me, it's about getting into the community, get as many people to understand that it's not just the physical part and the soft movements, it's just about the mental health and improvement and maintenance of self. And I know that's exactly how you feel. So you're trying to take it forward from those things. And I know you've been helping people. So can you tell the guys watching this, you know, how you've been helping people?
Well, for a start, my interest has never been in the fighting per se. I've tried to understand the dynamics of emotion, that if there's a sphere and it's moving towards you and you touch it in a particular way, it'll spin. Yeah. But people who play snooker have a really good understanding of the way round objects behave. Mm-hmm. And to have that feeling, you can extrapolate it into self-defense or into avoiding.
Of course, yeah, of course. Yeah.
My principal interest has always been the healing of things. And when I say the healing, it's the return to wholeness. So the fundamental principle that I hold to is that this is a supremely intelligent organism, and it's taken millions of years to evolve to this point. It certainly isn't finished evolving. And there's an old saying, it is easier to ride a horse in the direction it's already going. You know, I have the sense that this body knows. There's a body knowing, okay, because it comes out of nature. We grow out of nature the way a pear grows out of a tree. Mm-hmm. We are extruded into the world. We are product of the planet, and it has peopled us. See, so the roots, the understanding of our own connectedness into nature, and that doesn't mean study, it means already here, already here. You know, the great Cheng Man Cheng wrote a wonderful poem in which he said that we can touch joy in doing these things and playing this wonderful art. And it's the joy to be as happy as a fish in crystal waters. It's such a wonderful phrase.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, I'm home. This is it. Here we are. So,
is it? Again, this is the last interview I did was with someone that I consider an absolute legend. He's one of the best fighters that ever graced the mat in KUDO, and all he's ever known is the mixed martial arts. So he was very lucky, really, because he had a number of arts thrown at him. He went through obviously finding martial arts as a home. Then he moved to being a professional and an athlete at the fighting, come up the other side of it, realized that martial arts got more to it than fighting. And now he mentioned in his interview about balance, and his life is made up of craft, of certain art. He's a great surfer, so he's involved in nature, and he is still keeping his physicality with the KUDO, but he joined rugby, and he was talking about the unity of a group and it being on a battlefield where you have to work together. So that togetherness and the wholeness that you're talking about. And I'm hoping that people will be able to look at this and understand that, you know, it doesn't matter which part of the martial arts spectrum you're on, we're all heading that same way, aren't we?
Yes, absolutely. You know, and I thought to myself once, let's say that all the personal development work I ever came across and the psychological studies and Buddhist way of thinking and the Taoist way of thinking, and if I assume that I climbed some invisible ladder and arrived at the Heliopolis, this is the place, this is the Zingo place, here I am, what do you think I would find there? What do you think I've often thought, what would be the highest expression? And I realized it would be a truly open heart and a loving kindness that just shone as if the sun was inside of me. That would be the expression of me at my finest, highest, most accomplished. It wouldn't look a lot like having a punch or doing a block.
Yeah.
It just looked like, oh, happy people, please.
Yeah. I think a lot of martial arts don't, we quite often join martial arts out of fear. We join that because we fear, obviously, conflict, but actually the amount of physicality you have during your life is very low. The risk of it's very low. You can avoid majority of conflict in your life if you live that type of life.
Yeah.
So
there's some people who'll have a dust up every weekend,
Exactly, it's a mentality.
I haven't had a fight since I was 14. 73 now. So, and I'm too old for fighting, but I don't mind that. There was one of the great prime ministers of Israel, a lady whose name was, I can't remember now, and she was asked, you smoke so much, why do you keep smoking? She said, I'm too old to die young.
I'm trying to kind of get us to, a part of the conversation. It's like when you talk with friends, you come to some fantastic subjects between you, but it's always the powerful stuff that really connect. Like for me, the martial arts, the three kind of main martial arts that I obviously connect with these days are Tai Chi and the KUDO and the Karate. I left judo originally as a child because my eczema was that bad that, rough, and my hands are quite scarred from all of the, the cuts and things. And kids can be really mean when you're a child. The kids would go, oh, I'm not touching your hands, you've got old man's hands, or can I catch that? And those sort of feelings kind of, they stay inside until you get to a point of your life where you feel, well, actually, that doesn't bother me anymore. We've all got our own battle. We all got our own fight. And I always find that in martial arts. I always find that everybody's got a story of why they went in. I'm just curious, as somebody that obviously gone in to a martial arts system, and you're always interested in the healing. Is that underpinned by an experience, or is that
yes,
that's too personal? You don't have to answer, obviously.
No. I've been a kind of a man with a fairly short fuse in my life. Not necessarily aggressive, but I would, I'd flare up like, if I was triggered and I thought of myself as being angry, and I was full of understanding that's not the way to be, and full of trying to deal with, this bit of me that flares up. It could flare up as impatience or frustration. Mm-hmm. Or just critical. It's the same thing. It's just different guises. But what the Tai Chi enabled me to do was to understand the coming and going of things. Mm-hmm. You see? So, and this will bring us, I know you wanted to talk about circles.
Yeah.
What I see to be movement in Tai Chi is simply the physical representation of what happens in every sphere of life, psychological, emotional, and in every way. There are waves, and waves have peaks and troughs, and there are long waves and short waves. But all there actually is in terms of movement is backwards and forwards. There is side to side, and there is up and down. That's it. Now, if you have a ball, the energy can move in those directions. But because the ball is round, the center is always in the center. So every movement I make has an opening and a closing. Every thought I have also has an opening and a closing. And from understandings of even things like reincarnation, the notion being that everything returns to the source of its arising. Everything ultimately is circular. And if you look into the symbols in the esoteric world, the snake with his tail in his mouth, representing the Alpha and the Omega, everything together. So I find parallels with the idea that things go out and come back. And then you think of the sayings we have as a kid, I'll get my own back. Yes, you will, and you may not like it.
And I say what goes around comes around, and there's quite a lot of sayings, isn't there? Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
if I could, like, what do they call it, time lapse,
Yeah.
and I saw myself delivering a punch,
Yeah.
and then through time lapse, I could see the same punch coming back and whacking me in the head.
Yeah.
I might go, See, I think that there's nothing for me to defend myself against.
Yeah.
I have to think attack before
Yeah.
I read attack.
Do you know
I
what?
have
I
to
just
be
had a
in that
flashback
mode.
then of, you know, the you remember the, sorry to interrupt, I just had this great, I'm a very visual person, you know, remember the game was like a swing ball or something, and you
Yeah,
whack the tennis ball and it goes all the way around and then smacks you in the head the first time. Just kind of got that feel about it there. Right, and just to kind of connect between the healing part of it, right?
yes,
And I said that I'd gone into Tai Chi, not because I wanted to, it's because the man that was teaching me Tai Chi, he believed in me 100%, and I knew that he believed in me. So I would have tried anything, you know, really, what I thought would benefit me, because I knew he had my interest at heart. So I practiced the Tai Chi, and I realized that I was getting these physical benefits, clearly getting some psychological benefits, because I didn't know this at the time, because my confidence went up and it led me into things I've done. But come out the other side of it, and you know, and I'm not ashamed of this. You know, I've been a lot more open about my own mental health across social media. I don't really care, you know. And obviously, I lost my father 12 months ago, and I like actually talking about it because it helps me deal with the pain.
sure.
So I mean, I'll shout it, and obviously, it's going in this video as well. But it's really, I understood that a very special day for me was after my father passed. I did basically a Tai Chi session in honor of my father, dedicated to my father, to raise money for Marie Curie, obviously, as he died of cancer. And it was a bloody awful day. I mean, it literally rained, it poured, but the community that came down, so in other words, the students, my family, and that came down and did it, actually got to practice my brother, who absolutely hates everything to do with martial arts, anything with mindful, it's just not him, but he connected that day. We also did one for AJ, and it was the same thing. It's a very, very, very special place. And then I started to understand that the Tai Chi has another element, you know, or the martial arts has another element of mindfulness, and allowing you to express yourself in so many different ways and to rebalance. And then at this point, I quite think there has to be a return again, because we talk about circles, back to that kind of physicality. And, you know, you practiced Trager. Am I pronouncing that correctly, Trager?
Yeah,
Right. So you practiced Trager, and I had a session with you, and you know, just this is kind of how it felt for me, is that you were kind of bringing through contact, because obviously it's not a massage, it's, you know, you're bringing the mind and the body back through verbalization of what you're doing and reconnecting the body. And that's what it felt like. And it was a lot more powerful than laying there in silence having a massage, or,
yes.
or maybe sitting there where somebody's talking to you, like maybe so like Reiki or something along the lines of that. It was, can you give people an idea what it is? Because obviously I hadn't heard of it.
Yes, absolutely. So if you can visualize your body as being made out of water, and if you drop a stone into the bowl of water, all the water is set in motion. And I notice when you talk about balance, you
Yeah,
use this
yeah,
gesture.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's perfect, because I think of this, that I'm energy within a sea of energy, and the energy has rising and falling. And this for me is harmony. And it's always going to be rising and falling, because that's what yin and yang is all about.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
foundation of everything. What you don't want is massive spikes, and then, you know, super highs, super lows,
yeah,
because that's chaos, and
yeah,
it's destabilizing. You're looking for the ebb and flow of life. Mm-hmm. So I see it coming and going. Every breath is that. Every movement that goes out always comes back.
yeah,
Otherwise, you'd be heading off following that fist forever. At some point,
yeah.
you pull your hand back.
True, true.
You have to pull your foot back in order to kick the ball forward.
Yeah,
So wherever there's a forward, there's a backwards. Wherever
yeah,
there's a
yeah.
sinking, there's a rising.
Sure.
So I see in doing the form, which is
Yeah,
just moving your body. You're a biped with two of these things,
Yeah.
and they move in concert, sometimes like two geese or two birds flying together.
Sure.
The hands for each other. And between the hands, there's polarity.
Yeah.
So healing is simply a process of coming into some kind of quiet myself, putting the hands in, so there's contact,
Yeah.
and then there's connect. I put
Yeah.
my hands on the body, maybe on the leg, and then I connect deeply into the body. I can, with my mind, I can sink and hold the bone. I can then move the bone, or I can
Yeah.
move the surface, not with any pressure. When you put the body into some kind of motion, as if you were laying on a lilo in the swimming pool,
Yeah.
and somebody jumped in and the water went blue, and you also go blue, blue, blue.
Yeah.
A bit like being a baby in the amniotic sac.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
are floating in wet world.
Yeah.
And this is a natural rhythm. The rhythm that's around you, that's bobbing you up and down like a cork, is
Yeah.
also going through you, and everything inside you is bobbing up and down like a cork. And if you were able to see the travel of the liquids through your body, the lymph or the blood, you'll see it doesn't travel in a straight line, it swirls.
Yeah.
It swirls, and in your body there are rapids, and then there are calm pools, and there are waterfalls, and it's all
So
going
do you think
on.
is their effectiveness is to, I mean, obviously you're creating pictures and experiences and, connecting with so much going on with the person as well.
Excuse me, Mal, but I'm using pictures to try to give you a sense of it. It's like, it's something similar to.
Sure.
But that's as far as it goes.
Yeah.
What actually happens is, when the body moves so gently, where there are blockages, what happens is it just gradually opens out, and the space begins to appear between things. When the space is there, the energy flows without hindrance.
Right. Okay. Makes
When
sense,
that happens, the intelligence of the body takes advantage of the fact that nothing's obliging it or forcing it or demanding of it. It's allowed to find its own rhythm. You stir the pond and then you leave it. And eventually it settles and the layers settle. It's called the way of nature.
Yeah.
In Zen, you talk about something being just so.
Yeah, sure.
I want to rest in life like a pebble at the bottom of the pond. This is my place. I live here. I belong here. Now, if while I'm doing this with somebody, there is a state of calm, that state of calm is something that those people register.
Yeah.
And registering it isn't something that I'm doing to them.
Yeah.
It's something that they are reconnecting with already in them, belongs to them, is them at their best. It's like trying to get back to how we were before life got its hands on. I've been doing the same form now for 40 years, okay?
Yeah.
So I've kind of worn a little, a rut in the carpet, okay? So so when I set myself off, I could be falling asleep and still, this move will follow like that. And, so it's like automatic.
Yeah.
Now, my intention is to set the body going through that pattern of movement and come to the end.
Yeah.
My fascination is, having set the body go, is to see how does it do it.
Yeah.
Okay. And for this, I have always beginner's mind.
Right.
Always. I have no idea how to make it happen.
Yeah.
I'll tell you an experience I had.
Yeah, it's called being unconsciously competent, isn't it? It's once you've moved in a certain way. It's like driving your car.
Goes out and catches the ball when it didn't even see the ball.
You got it.
Calibrating what had to move in what order and at what speed for that to happen.
Yeah.
It's phenomenal. This is a supercomputer. What it needs is a calm individual to drive the car. See, you're getting a taxi and he says, where would you like to go? And you say, take me to Cardiff Central. Halfway to Cardiff Central, you say, I've changed my mind. Take me to Cardiff Airport. Halfway to Cardiff Airport, you say, I've changed my mind. Take me to Llandudno.
Yeah.
And eventually, this guy, for his own sanity, will close the little glass door between you and him, and he'll take you where he wants to go.
Yeah.
So
You're right.
we have this extraordinary machine. What it needs is management. It needs an adult to turn up and sit in the seat and set it into motion rather
Yeah.
than somebody just completely reactive. Tai
That's
Chi
right.
has taught me to be less reactive and more
Yeah.
creative.
I mean, that's life, isn't it? I mean, you know, I'm bringing the interview to close because I've got to ask you a load of random questions at the end, right? But it's that, you know, from what you were just saying, and you're saying about putting somebody in the seat, you know, it's quite different, isn't it, than being in control? Because quite often everybody that comes says, oh, I just want to be in control of this, and you can see their life spinning. I can see that when I see you quite often, and I've got so many things going on, you reflect back at me and how my body's spinning, you know, and I'm like quite conscious of it when I'm with you. And when I go to the Tai Chi, for instance, that's my one time that day, that week, where I'm just here, you know. And I think when we are just here, that's when we connect. And I kind of, on a concluding tone, this is what the COVID-19 has done for a lot of people. It's kind of just put us here, right? And I'm with my family. You know, you're in your house, but I can see, you know, you and your other half smiling through the camera. I can feel that kind of real positive energy coming at me. Right, so Lynn, here we go. We'll start with just a couple of ones. So, favorite place in the world? Favorite place?
Favorite place in the world? I think, though I haven't been there for a very long time, Zimbabwe.
Zimbabwe. That's
Africa.
very interesting. I think we're going to have to come back to that one on another one because I'm quite interested in that. Okay, so based on that one, somewhere in the world, right, if you were to choose that place, okay, to just to be in for 1 hour today, where would it be? Not Zimbabwe, obviously that's a place and you're thinking of an entirety, but if you could just jump in the old, what's it called? Doctor Who in the telephone box, boom, off for an hour, where would you go?
I'd go to Mount Shasta in Northern California. And at the bottom of Mount Shasta, there's a town, and there's somebody I'd like to visit there very much.
Well, and I'm sure they'll know. If we can get this video to them, they'll know who that is. Okay. An inspirational character for you in your childhood?
I think probably one of King Arthur's knights. I remember I read King Arthur and the Morte d'Arthur when I was 11, and it transfigured my view of the world. I wanted to be a noble man from that. And I can't remember which one it was. I don't think it was Galahad or Percival or any of them. Probably the one that used to go around slaying all the other knights.
So there's one funniest experience or most embarrassing experience within martial arts. So that's whether you're teaching or whether you're a student.
Oh God! It's because you want the funniest or the most embarrassing.
I can cut it. I can put it in. It doesn't matter.
So I'm a greedy little gannet, right? So the school I was in, once a year on the birthday of the Chonsong Fong, which is the 9th day of the 4th moon, is always the closest Saturday. There'd be a big celebration in the hall, and everybody would bring food and lay out trestle tables with food. But before that, there'd be demonstrations and then a talk by the master and so on. And then he was going to demonstrate this thing called the fast fall, which I'd seen snippets of. And I had a new Nikon camera, but a proper wind-on click, but quite a good one. And my film was running out, and he started with the fast fall. I was so intent on catching it because he would never let you video, but you could click, that I shoved my finger straight through the, it's got like a concertina bellows thing, straight through the thing that opens and closes. Anyway, that was it. Cost me 150, couldn't get my camera repaired, and I didn't get any photos at all. That was amongst my most embarrassing things, you see. Greedy because I wanted it so much. Taken my time.
Expensive too.
But I would have got some, yeah. So I actually learned that faster is not necessarily quicker.
Ah, right. You tell my wife that. We're joking. Okay, right. I consider you one of the people in my life that have got a very good level of emotional intelligence. So when you meet somebody you know, what's your first, I suppose, I would call it like an assessment tool. You know, what's kind of the first hurdle that you would, I suppose, what assessment tool would you use to work out whether someone's genuine, has genuine intentions compared to somebody that is trying to take advantage of you in some sort of way?
Okay. In terms of people being the genuine article, I think I'm quite gullible.
Okay.
I have followed people who looked like they were the thing. That's why I join things and then leave them.
Yeah.
So I'm quite open in that way, and I tend to think people are on the level unless they demonstrate otherwise.
Right. Okay.
I don't start off with this, you know, what's his game, what's he up to.
Yeah.
I remember one person I read many years ago. He said the reason I'm not cynical about you is because if I was cynical about you, I'd have to be cynical about myself, and I can't afford that.
Yeah.
Well, I so much want to say, look, you know, I may be full of hot air and I may be trying to impress people. I may be going through the motions of being a human that wants to be liked.
Yeah.
But to myself, when I'm on my own, I'm in the car seat or I'm looking in the mirror and I'm on my own, am I okay with that guy? You see?
Yeah.
And it's taken me most of my life to be okay with that guy.
You said earlier that you haven't had a fight since you were 14. Okay. I can't say the same. So let's say that if anybody's going to be given, you know, an award for being the best at self-protection, self-defense, that would make you the winner, because you've managed to get through life being through a number of countries in the world and have managed to keep yourself safe. So I would say, you know, when you said that you, not vulnerable, you said gullible, right? You're in your 70s, right? So you're 70.
Still here, wow.
Yeah, right. And there's a lot of people out there. You're lucky enough to have a lovely partner, and you're very happy, and that's there. But there's a lot of people out there, maybe at the same age, that are not in the same situation, and I see a lot of distrust in people because they're being defensive, because they're worried that people are going to take advantage of them, and that makes them very vulnerable. And I personally, I loved my grandparents like beyond belief. They were my biggest inspiration, and they weren't actually that old, you know. Thinking back about it, obviously when you meet your grandparents, now I'm a grandparent. I'm going to be ancient as well, so it's like, I suppose it's, you've kept yourself safe. You meet people, you take them at their face value. I've come a cropper of that over the last couple of years of you know, seeing the best in people, but they don't see the best in themselves. So you end up in a bit of a predicament. How do you distinguish between a good person that is going to be someone you want in your life compared to somebody you're just going to push to the side?
It comes down ultimately to some kind of feeling, internal feeling.
Yeah.
One of the things you're cultivating in Tai Chi is listening. So when your hand's moving through the air, they say to feel the evening breeze passing through the fingertips. And of course, as you sensitize yourself, you feel more and more. There's no movement without the air around you moving, and you start to feel all of that. But that cultivates a kind of a sensitivity.
Yeah.
You know? I'm naturally wary of something that's a bit kind of pushy.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I prefer things that let me hide behind the sofa and check them out slowly, you know, and win me, you know, put down the smarties and I'll come out of the shed like a good ET and follow you home. You know, don't scare me, in other words. If I see something is really not for me, I do everything I can to not have to deal with it, to simply not deal with it. If it's shoved in my face, then I have to deal with it. But generally, I find that like goes to like.
Yeah.
You know, the thing you want to You know, have you noticed that if you walk down the street and you go to people, strangers,
Yeah.
they do it to somebody else.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
It's very heartwarming and it's immediately soothing.
yeah.
So my wonderful wife told me that this one Zen teacher, and she's been studying Zen a long time, his thing is to have the feeling that the inside muscles of your face are in a smile. So you don't have to externalize it. But you have that feeling of the creasing coming up, changes your emotional state.
Defensive behavior means you cut yourself off, and then you can't gauge somebody because you don't receive. It's like you're saying about, you know, between the fingers, you know, accepting that something's going to happen, but at the same time having a sensitivity about it, isn't it? And you've got to kind of gauge. There's like in training, we tend to, you can't block something, right? So you can't stop something dead. It's impossible. You've got to have seen it coming from a very long way, and then towards the end, you're just kind of letting it go past, you know. And I think that's probably a good analogy, really, isn't it? Of you know, there's not a block. It's all an evasion, isn't it?
If you meet yang with yang, then whoever is the heavier, stronger will break the other one. That's how yang works.
Exactly.
But, you're strong enough. You guys could come to the way these modern houses are made, you know, with these plasterboard walls and go.
Yeah. I've always wanted to grab the neighbour's cup of tea and thank you very much.
Push your fist to you.
Well, maybe that's going to be next episode.
If I hang a blanket in an open doorway and invite you to punch a hole in it, you might be there for a long time.
Yeah, true.
And that's because the yielding nature of the blanket makes it impenetrable.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of cast iron thing, it's just a bigger force will smash it.
That's right, yeah.
And one my Tai Chi grandmaster said to me, you see people who've cultivated Neigong and they can take heavy blows and all of this. He said they are undone by the softest touch, and I believed it.
Yeah.
He was rather an exceptional guy.
Yeah, it was definitely. So, Lynn, thank you very much for taking the time and, you know, to chat to me. This has been, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people that watch this that hopefully they'll take in some of the information. Anybody that is interested in looking into Trager or having a conversation with you, then you can do that. I mean, you don't, obviously right now everything's on stop, so this is a great time to have a conversation with you. Safe, and you look after your lovely woman, and I'll be in touch with you soon. Thank you very much, Lynn.
Delighted to share with you, man.
Thank you very much.
Good luck. I like the work you're doing.
Jungle.